Well, hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so we're gonna plow on with our exploration guides as it's a weird set of videos because there are a lot of people asking directly when the next chapter is going to be uploaded, but none of them do well. And so it's kind of interesting. So there's a very small group of players who are very interested in these videos, but it just I don't know, doesn't have an appeal for a larger audience for now. But these are the videos that, you know, people look up half a year later or whatever. So either way, let's just get it done. So we have 6 lanes as always. We're gonna go from left to right, then we're gonna take a look at the 3 bosses. The first lane is actually very simple, Cosmic Avalanche, where you basically get extra damage for special on special attacks for Cosmic Champions for each unique buff on you. Suffocation is the key node here, where every time you strike the defender, you have 100% chance to get the Stifle debuff, which reduces your combat power rate by 25%. You can get 4 of them, effectively having no combat power rate at all whatsoever. However, for each unique buff, you reduce this chance by 33%. So if you have 3 buffs, you pretty much will never trigger it. And then we have Power Play and Aggression Prowess. Now, again, kind of like in keeping with the theme of 7.3, the best way is not to do what Kabam tells you and go against the grain. Get a hold of your Mole or your Kingpin, and you're going to have a very good time. Because with Mole, only thing you need to do is strike opponent X amount of times, and you're going to automatically enter max monster mass, and at that point, you're just going to start shredding them. Or with Kingpin, and especially if you add in Hood synergy, but it's not even needed, you will just keep getting these debuffs every time you strike the opponent, and then you're going to keep purifying, turning them into rage, and turning them into overpower, and getting a ton of attack and a ton of healing from willpower meanwhile. So Kingpin and Mole are kind of incidentally some of the best options here. Also, I suspect that Killmonger would be very fun, because it reduces your combat power rate. It does nothing to your ability power rate, so you're going to be getting a significant chunk of power every time you strike your opponent, and Killmonger should be having quite fun time here as well. Additionally, obviously, you can bring in your Venom, Silver Surfer, or, you know, your Cosmic Champions and try and play by the rules, get as many buffs on, and, you know, get some extra damage on special attacks. But really, I pretty much did most of it with Kingpin. The one fight there to note is Bishop. Obviously, for Bishop, you do want to have somebody that is Incinerate immune or have power control, like your standard options for Bishop. You can also Quake this one if you want. There's absolutely nothing wrong with quaking this Bishop. Right, moving on to the next lane, Be Like Water, a node that I actually really dislike. So whenever you inflict a non-damaging debuff, they go unblockable. Then we have Polka Dot Power, Rise 2 Power, and Stun Vulnerability. Now, the best option for this path, Miles Morales. You parry them, they will go... Well, first of all, try to get your, like... Well, just land a combo, start with an intercept. Then you parry them, get them in the corner, and just start throwing heavy attacks. And all you do is throw heavy attacks, because heavy attacks inflict Taunt and Rapture if your camouflage is active. So you're going to keep inflicting non-damaging debuff on them, they're going to keep going unblockable, and you're going to infinitely keep spamming heavy attacks, they're going to infinitely keep missing you, and you can cheese most of this stuff. Obviously with Silver Surfer, you kind of need to be careful if he gets that bypass miss buff from level 1, but that is about it. Right, so if you don't have Miles, then your MVP here can and probably should be White Magneto pre-fight. If you have both 5 and 6-star White Magnetos, perfect, because then you can use one for every single fight. And yeah, just bring in champions that don't inflict non-damaging debuffs on their own. Ideally have some damage over time effect. So White Magneto pre-fight, Miles Morales are 2 of the MVPs here. Other than that, alternatively, you can kind of use whatever you want. You can parry them, you're going to have extra damage whilst they are stunned. Afterwards, you just wait out the unblockable. You can tackle this lane with pretty much everybody. It's just more annoying that way. The only kind of like really annoying champion here could potentially be Spider-Man, especially his level 1s, if he is going unblockable. But again, you know, you can Just bring in White Magneto pre-fight for this ability. Use a champion like, I don't know, Mallman or somebody else that deals with the Wades well, and you'll be flying. Not much to worry about. So yeah, Miles, White Magneto pre-fights. That's kind of like the main focus there. Champions that deal well with opponents being unblockable. Elsa could do well. There is Polka Dot power, but still, even without power, you can Ghost, because Ghost doesn't really care if opponents are unblockable, so on and so forth. You can use most of the champions in the game. It's just going to be a bit annoying to wait out the unblockables. Right, Paradox Knockdown, Entropic Impairment, where you gain debuff duration, but you lose a Paradox charge every time you activate a special attack, for each bar of power, should I say, as well. And then we have Quantum Safeguard and Counter-Strike. Now, you can stunlock any opponents that you can stunlock here, so you can bring in a champion like, I don't know, Hulkbuster or Ultron, and you can kind of cheese through it. Because of increased debuff duration, it also increases your parry stance and your stance from like level 1. And every time you knock down an opponent, you gain a Paradox charge. So what you want to do is you want to start the fight, drop 3 heavy attacks or 5 heavy attacks, let's say, get to 5 Paradox charges, and then just start spamming your level 1. And that is about it. Opponent stunned, you get plenty of time to build up to your next level 1, drop the level 1, you gain 1 Paradox charge, you lose 1 Paradox charge, and that's all. So Quantum Safeguard, they take no damage basically whilst they're under 3 Paradox charges, but again, just parry heavy 3 times, and the Counter Strike doesn't really do much there at all. And that is about it. So you can stunlock here, or you can use any champion really. It's just this is one of the cases where it's quite easy to manage Paradox charges. So if you want to get a Paradox charge, drop a heavy attack. Using Special 1 basically keeps you even on Paradox charges. Using Special 2 reduces Paradox charges by 1. And there's nothing extra to it. You need to deal with Human Torch. You need to deal with Juggernaut. There's no reason not to stunlock them. Invisible Woman's a bit trickier, but again, any champion, literally any champion, works on this lane. And then moving on, you have Diablo, you can stunlock it. You have Reed Richards, you can stunlock it or use your skill champions. And, you know, then Sasquatch, you can't really stunlock, he can go stun immune, but just bring in your science champions with extended debuff duration, you're going to have quite a good time. Anyhow, this tech lane, fairly cheesy. Warlock, Ghost, Ultron, Hulkbuster, all destroyed. You just basically want to bring in a tech champion. So every time you use a special attack, you inflict a heal block. And if they are already heal blocked, you gain a Fury. And then there is this Grudge. The Grudge is actually a bit more annoying because while they are suffering from heal block or power lock, you gain 100% combat power rate. So you're going to be getting a lot of power. However, whenever heal block or power lock expires, they go passive, they go debuff immune. So that's a bit annoying. They will be periodically debuff immune, but you will also have quite significantly increased power gain. Aggression regeneration is kind of like a non-point here. You can just be aggressive and you're going to be fine. Picture of Health doesn't come into play, and there are no real tough opponents. So just bring in all your tech beasts and you're going to be fine. Right, moving to this lane. This lane is actually a bit of a cheese bullshit lane again. You have Paradox debuff, so every time you inflict debuff, you gain Paradox charge. However, for each charge, you gain 20% offensive combat power rate. And to get rid of a charge, you want to finish a combo with a light attack. They start unblockable, which is probably the most annoying thing here, because, you're gonna struggle initially putting on some debuff, so you need some champions that has, access to some sort of debuff outside of parry. But once you get rid of that unblockable, once you have, dropped a couple of level 1s and inflicted a couple of stuns or something, they're not unblockable anymore. And at that point, the fact that there's power reserve means that you can stunlock them with Spider-Gwen, you can stunlock them with Ronan, you can stunlock them with iHulk, I believe, you can stunlock them with Kingpin, you can stunlock them with Aegon, you can stunlock them with Hercules. And there's no champions really that, prevent you from doing that. So this is kind of a very, very cheesy lane. And yeah, typically people just stunlock that. And last lane, where nodes don't matter much at all, if any, because all of the nodes interact with themselves. So you have this berserker barrage where opponent gains a passive fury every 1 second, unless you have a regeneration buff active on you. So regen champions, kind of will make it slower, but heal or hide gives regen to you or your opponent, which gives you an ability to pause them getting furies, or when they get the regeneration buff from this node, they lose all the furies. There's vigorous assault, which is kind of like, fair enough. They're going to be able to go unblockable, heal block, passive, and return policy. As I discussed in my completion video, you just want to bring in Human Torch and Magneto, and in between those two champions, they just destroy this entire lane. You don't have to play by the rules because the nodes work within themselves. You don't need to regen champions. You don't need any of that stuff. You can bring in any champion here. And, when opponent starts getting, uncomfortably large amount of furies, then just make sure that heal or hide gives them that heal buff. And that means that they will lose all their furies. Yes, bringing in champion that has access to regeneration, I don't know, like Bishop, for instance, will help you manage it better, but it's really not needed. Human Torch and Magneto tear through this lane by themselves, but alternatively, you can use pretty much any champion that finishes the fights relatively quickly, and you'll be fine. I don't know, you can bring in Red Hulk for all I care, or literally any champion with, decent abilities. You just need to know the fact that when you want to get rid of their furies, stay away from them. No, be close to them. They will gain a fury, and they will lose all their... Sorry, they will gain a regeneration. They will lose all their furies. That's it. You don't need any extra help from any champion abilities there. Now let's talk boss fights. Now Warlock is actually quite annoying here. So he has Ebb and Flow Heavy, which I'm not a fan of Ebb and Flow nodes, but okay. Redlining, which can allow for some interesting things, but also is a bit tricky, obviously, because you can end up losing all your power if you go significantly past 2 bars. Now, Specialist to Stage Fright to prevent you from spamming special attacks and Bubble Shield. Now, Magneto works. Just use level 1s and level 2s with Magneto here, and you'll be fine. And White Magneto can do the job as well. Alternatively, King Groot and Venom Pool are possibly the best options here. Maybe Venom even as well. But King Groot is an absolute beast. So is Venom Pool. But with King Groot, you will have a lot of extra power gain. Thanks to this redlining. As soon as you get past 1 bar of power, you will have 100% increased combat power rate. And he's immune to power drain and power control from tech champions. So that means that... you want to build up to nearly 3 bars of power, drop a level 2, fall below just 1 bar of power, and then you pretty much all the time will have 100% increased power rate. He does extra damage against robot champions, so the Warlocks are going to be melting away. And on top of that, he has Furies to shrug off things, and so on and so forth. So King Groot, Venom Pool, Magneto, and, probably Medusa works well enough here as well. Your standard options. Against this Elsa, now the best champion here likely is Apocalypse, because Apocalypse can bypass Tenacity, making the fight very, very simple, very, very safe. They are evasive maneuvers, but, Apocalypse can even build up to that and shut down the evasive maneuvers. We have this persistent pressure, and we have, most importantly, buff synthesis, fury precision. Thanks to the way Elsa's level 1 works, where you can get in 3 dexes per special one, it is extremely easy to get precision buffs for Fury Synthesis buff precision. That means as long as you have a steady supply of Fury buffs, you will be getting a ton of prowess buffs. So once again, actually, King Groot is one of the best options, because King Groot gets a ton of Furies throughout the fight, and you're going to be getting a ton of prowess buffs, and King Groot is a really, really, really solid option for this fight. Besides Apocalypse. Alternatively, Crossbones is very solid because he gains a lot of Fury buffs as well. Or any other champion that kind of comes to your mind that has permanent, quick access to Fury buffs. You're going to end up netting a lot of prowess. Right. Final fight, Cable. We have Surge Protector. Quite an annoying node. Supercharge, Enhanced Abilities, and Vigorous Assault. Now, Vigorous Assault is the only real problem here with enhanced abilities. Magneto is actually not too good for this because of the 200% increased ability accuracy. He's going to be triggering buffs a lot. For me personally, champions that worked the best here was Kingpin with Mr. Sinister synergy. Because, you know, he uses special attack, he gets power locked, and everybody's happy, and you can have fun. And then, besides Kingpin, what you want to focus on are your top Mystic champions. Because no matter how many abilities he triggers, how many regions or power gains he gets, if you're able to nullify them, you can feed your Mystic Dispersion, you can switch off Vigorous Assault, and you have very, very, very little to worry about. So, which are the champions that you want to bring in? Doctor Doom, Black Widow, Clairvoyant, Sorcerer Supreme, all the good Mystic stuff. And yeah, you will be absolutely destroying this Cable, because he triggers a ton of buffs every time he fills a bar of power. And if you can nullify them, good on you. If you have a bit of power control with you on top of that, even better. Very simple fight if you use top tier Mystic Champion. Right, that is about it. Don't want to keep you guys any longer, so we have one more quest left, which is going to be the Kang. So I have already uploaded the Kang boss guide. So we're going to be strictly talking about the path to Kang. As an additional thing, I think MCOC Noob is about done finalizing the things for 7.3 guide, which I did help him out a bit. It was largely him and Agent X and Monash and everybody else, those regular suspects. I did give my input a bit to those graphics as well. So those should be coming out. When they do, I will post a link to them on my community section as well. So it's going to be basically a brief summary of these guides, so you can refer to them. But other than that, yeah, I hope these are useful to some of you, and I will catch you guys soon. See ya.
Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information